Howdy doody, my name is Susie and I'm putting together a cream tea for my dear friend Marg, who's coming to see me after not seeing her for a number of years because of our lockdown. And this is one of the recipes that I'm going to be adding to my cream tea, and that is English style scones. Specifically, this recipe is actually coming from the former chef of the Queen herself, Darren McGrady, and if you want to check him out on YouTube, he's got fabulous secret recipes from the royals that I'm sure everyone is curious to know. So this recipe is very similar to other scone recipes that I've made in the past, but I want to try this out, his technique specifically, because I want to know exactly what is the Queen eating for a scone and why does she like these so much. I've already made the clotted cream, I've made all my preserves, so all my jams and jellies, and now I have to make the scones. So for this recipe, we're going to need 3.5 cups of flour. We're going to need a stick of butter, 1 whole egg, half a cup of fine white sugar plus 1 tablespoon, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, a pinch of salt, and we're going to need some, I'm using the whey from the clotted cream, and we're going to use anywhere from 3/4 of a cup to 1 1/4 cups of either milk or whey or buttermilk, and an extra egg yolk in order to coat the top of our scones. So let's get started. Scones before, I think generally speaking, most scones, the amounts of the recipes are fairly similar, but this one is a little bit different, and I wanted to do it exactly the way that the chef prepares it for the Queen, because who else to vouch for a good scone other than the Queen of England herself? So I want to know exactly what it tastes like, and I'm going to follow his instructions perfectly. This recipe actually ends up being faster than some of the other recipes because Chef McGrady does not chill his dough before rolling. He rolls it right out and pops it in the oven for 15 minutes. So the first thing we're going to do is I've preheated the oven for 350 degrees. Now I think when it comes to scones, the method of preparing the scones is almost more important than the actual ingredients themselves. So one of the things that I learned from this recipe is you don't want to manhandle your scone dough. So the first thing he does is he adds his 3.5 cups of flour, and this is going to give us 16 scones. Now when I watched the chef prepare his scones, he used a cookie cutter, so he made small round scones. So I'm curious to see how many scones I'm going to get, because that's 1/4. That's 1/4. I want to cut my scones in a different shape. I don't want to, I'm just going to cut them the traditional triangular way. I think it's easier and it looks nice. So 3.5 cups of flour, and then to that we're going to add 4 teaspoons of baking powder, which sounds like a lot, but he knows what he's doing. And then you want half a cup of, is this half a cup? Then you want half a cup of fine white sugar, half a cup plus 1 tablespoon. Oh, that's why I have a little extra sugar in there. Half a cup plus 1 tablespoon. And then I'm going to roll up my sleeves. And then you're just going to mix all the ingredients around. I'm going to add a pinch of salt, which I don't think you need the salt if you have salted butter. All your dry ingredients around, and then he takes his butter, he breaks it up, and your butter has to be at room temperature. He breaks it up, puts it all in, and then he uses his hands to basically incorporate that butter into the flour. And like he says, you want to get the consistency of fine breadcrumbs. So you just want to break it up. And he really broke it up finely. So I'm going to do the same. It's almost fine breadcrumbs. Everybody has their own favorite way of making scones. So basically, this is how Chef McGrady had it. And it's just, like you can see, it's just turned into like breadcrumbs. And then he makes a well. And this is the part that you have to be really careful. And I know this from many different recipes. You have to, the less you knead the dough, the more tender your scones are going to be. So you really want to mix it without kneading the dough at all. So I'll show you exactly how he explained it. So you're going to add your egg in the bottom of your well. And then you're going to add 3/4 of a cup of your milk. And like I said, in my case, this is the whey from the clotted cream. And then he just gets in there, breaks up the egg, and just mixes the dough around. And this is the part that he says you just want to move it around. You don't want to knead it at all. So we're just going to move it around. This will eventually come together as a dough. The additional milk is if your batter is too dry and it won't hold together, then you've got the extra milk. But the way this is feeling, it feels quite moist. And I don't think I need any more milk. Then he says you just want to move it around until it all comes together. So it all came together nicely. And I'll just show you the dough. So there's some dry parts, but like he says, don't overdo it on the mixing. And then the next thing we're going to do, is just add a little bit of flour to your counter. And then he says to just give it 1 or 2 rolls, but you don't want to knead it until you get a nice shape. And then you want to roll it out to 1 inch. You just want to roll it out to 1 inch thickness, which that is. And then I am going to cut. So I'm going to put my scone right on my baking dish, like so. So I decided to get 2 different shapes. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of my triangles. And then with the last 2, I split them up and just turned them into the small round biscuits, just like Chef McGrady made. And then his last trick, before putting it in the oven, he takes an egg yolk. Takes this egg yolk, and this does really give your biscuits a nice toasted brownish topping. It looks really beautiful. Or I shouldn't say brownish, I should say golden. And that's all he does. Now these are going into a 350-degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes, but I'm going to check it at 15. There's our timer. Oh my God, they're really fluffed up. They look very pale. I think they need another 5 minutes. That's 5 minutes. Let's see what they look like. Ooh. My kitchen smells very buttery. you can really smell the butter. I wonder if that's from the whey, from my powdered cream. Wow, they look fabulous. But I'm gonna have to let them cool before I can show you what they taste like. So I've let my scones cool down for about 5 minutes, and they really do smell buttery. So I'm really anxious to try one. But before I do, I wanted to just show you. So I'm serving my scones for my cream tea, and I've got my platter ready, and I've got some brownies, little chocolates. I've got some little tiny walnut tarts, and I've just used a regular, and these are the metal muffin liners, and I use the metal ones because they will hold their shape, and I basically just stretch it out. I stretch it out into the shape of a fan or a triangle, and then I can add my scone so that when Marg comes and she picks up her scone, this just makes it easy to pick up your scone without getting your fingers dirty, and it looks really nice. These little metallic muffin tin liners just makes for a really pretty presentation. So my tray is really coming along, but now for the taste test. I'll take a small one. It smells divine. And Chef says that the proper way is to slice through your scone and then pull it apart. And look at this beautiful texture. It's nice and soft, but the outside has got a nice crust on it, and that golden egg yolk really makes it look fantastic. So I want to taste it with nothing on it because I just want to see what the scone tastes like. Very nice. They are sweet. That's because of the half a cup of sugar that we used. I guess the queen has a sweet tooth, but they are nice. They really are nice and tender. These definitely are buttery in flavor. Now I know why the queen likes these. They are tender on the inside. Obviously they're nice and warm. They're going to be really nice and tender, but they've got that nice little crunch on the outside, just like you want a scone. And they taste very buttery, and they don't have that flour flavor that sometimes some recipes, the scones turn out too dry and don't have enough of a flavor. These are delicious on their own, but I think they're going to be even more delicious with a pat of butter. These are my new favorite scones. And I've got my pot of clotted cream, which is gonna go fantastic, but I'm not going to even taste it today. I'm gonna wait until Mark gets here because I wanna be surprised to see how delicious it tastes myself. And I've got my homemade jams. I've got plum. I think I'm gonna use some strawberry and some cherry as well. And I'm almost ready for my cream tea. So I'm just getting a little strawberry salad ready for a brunch, and I'm going to use fresh strawberries and about 2 teaspoons of my homemade mint jelly. Just toss it around. The mint goes fantastic with the strawberries. It's a really nice, refreshing, light salad, perfect for brunch. So I'm getting my table ready, and I think everything is looking great. I've got my tea, my roses. That is rose flavored sugar cubes. my little centerpiece, and I've got my tray covered to make sure it is fresh. Marg is tasting the little cheese carrots.
Mmm.
I think that says it all.
That's delicious.
Okay, we're getting our first impression of the scones with the clotted cream.
Oh my God.
So if you try this recipe and you like it, remember, the Queen likes it too. I hope that you share it, and if you want to see more content, I hope you subscribe. Happy tea time!